Django View Authorization. Allowing users to log into your website solves two problems: authentication and authorization. Authentication is the act of verifying a user's identity, confirming that they are who they say they are. Authorization is deciding whether a user is allowed to perform an action. The two concepts go hand in hand. If a page on your website is restricted to logged-in users, then users have to authenticate before they can be authorized to view the page. Django provides tools for both authentication and authorization. Django View Authorization is typically done with decorators. This video course will show you how to use these view decorators to enforce authorized viewing of pages in your Django website. By the end of this course, you'll know how to use HttpRequest and HttpRequest.user objects, authenticate and authorize users, differentiate between regular, staff, and admin users, secure a view with the login required decorator, restrict a view to different roles with the user passes test decorator, and use the Django messages framework to notify your users. So now that you know what you'll be covering, let's get started by getting everything you need set up. Getting started. To better understand authorization, you'll need a project to experiment with. You'll run through the creation of a simple blog app to demonstrate the techniques needed. Alternatively, you can follow along by downloading the sample code from this link. All the demonstration code was tested with Python 3.8 and Django 3.1. It should work with other versions, but there may be subtle differences. Creating a project. First, you'll need to create a new Django project. Since Django isn't part of the standard library, it's considered best practice to use a virtual environment. You can see one being created here and activated using the commands on screen. Next, install Django. Now, create a new project. Next, create an app called Core inside the project. Now add a templates directory to the project. Next, perform the migrations that are needed. And finally, for the moment, create a site superuser, giving you access to the admin area. You now have a blog project, but you still need to tell Django about the app you created and the new directory you added for templates. You can do this by modifying the blog settings.py file, first by changing the installed apps list to include the core app you created earlier on. Don't forget that it's good practice to put a comma at the end of each entry, as this minimizes the amount of changes in any source control system you're using. Once you've added the app, you also need to modify the templates declaration to add the templates folder which was created earlier on. This tells Django where to look for your templates. Note that this code is an area which is specific to Django 3.1 and later, as it moved to using pathlib rather than the OS library. If you're following along using an earlier version of Django, then you'll need to modify your code to suit the syntax that the OS library uses. The sample site you'll be working with is a basic blogging application. The core app needs a models.py file to contain the models that store the blog content in the database. Edit core models.py and add the following: Now for some web pages. Create two views, one for listing all the blogs and one for viewing a blog. The code for your views goes in core views.py. The listing view does a query looking for all the blog objects and passes that to the render shortcut function. Render takes the request object that provides context to the view, the name of a template to render, and the data object containing the query set of blog objects. The view blog view takes a blog ID as a parameter and uses it to look up the corresponding blog object. This object is passed as context to the view blog HTML template through the render shortcut. In the next section, you'll see how templates are constructed in Django and complete the setup of the blog site. Creating templates and completing the blog site setup. There are three template files that go with the two views. The first is a base template that contains common HTML elements. The other two extend this base and correspond to views themselves. Create templates base.html as follows. This file is then extended by the templates used by the views. The listing view uses a file called templates listing.html that looks like this. Notice how it uses the blog's query set sent in by the view. The query set is looped through, printing out the title attribute of each of the blog objects found. Finally, to view an actual blog, create templates viewblog.html. The templates listing.html and templates viewblog.html files use the URL tag to look up the URLs associated with the listing and view blog views. These URLs need to be registered in blog urls.py. Modify that file as follows. The default urls.py file doesn't import include, so note that change to the second line. The rest of the lines import core views.py and create the URL patterns for the listing and view blog view functions. So far, you have no way to create content. The Django admin provides a quick way to modify model objects. Modify core admin.py to register the blog object. Everything is now in place. Use the following Django management commands to make and migrate the database models and run the server. The last command runs the Django development server. While it's running, you can use a browser to visit the address shown on screen to see the listing page, but without any data. Adding some data. Since you haven't created anything yet, the page will only show the title. Visit the Django admin at the address shown on screen and log in using the superuser credentials you created earlier on. Once inside, you can click the Add link next to the blogs object to create some test data. Alternatively, the sample code has a fixture containing example data. You can load the example data with the Load Data Management command, as seen here. The fixture file contains 2 example blog entries. If you visit the site's homepage, then it should now show some content, as you see on screen. Now that you have a working blog site with some data in it, next you'll see how to detect whether users are logged in or not. Detecting logged in users and their roles in a view. Every Django view takes at least one argument, an HTTP request. The request contains state information about the user and the page they're visiting. Here are some key pieces of information in the request. Django has the ability to run code on every single request through a plugin mechanism called MIDDLEWARE. The user attribute is added to the HTTP request object by the Authentication middleware plugin. This middleware is enabled by default when you create a new project, so you don't have to do anything special to take advantage of it. If you're interested in middleware, then the article Building a Django Middleware introduces these concepts. To see some of the HTTP request attributes in action, add the following view to core views.py. Next, add the new view to blog urls.py. With that in place, you can visit the address seen on screen and see some of the request parameters. If you add a query string to the end of the URL, then you can also see how GET works. For example, using the address seen on screen shows that the parameters are passed as a query dict in the GET part of the request. Who is anonymous user, you ask? The HttpRequest.user object is always populated with something. If the visitor to your website hasn't authenticated, then HttpRequest.user will contain an anonymous user object, as seen here. If you logged in earlier to create some data, then you might see what's seen on screen at the moment with details of the superuser instead. If you are logged in, then visit the address seen on screen at the moment to log out of the admin and then revisit the page to see the difference. All user objects, including anonymous user, have some attributes that give you more information about the user. To see how these work, add the following code to core views.py. Add this view to blog urls.py. And with the URL added, you can visit it to see what the httpRequest.user contains. If you're not logged in, then you'll see the following result. Log into the admin area using the superuser credentials you created earlier by visiting the admin address. Once you're signed in, go back to user info and notice the difference. With a logged in user, is anonymous changes from true to false. The username attribute tells you who the user is. In this case, you're logged in with the superuser account you created using the manage.py create superuser command. The is staff, is superuser, and is active attributes are now all true. Django uses sessions to manage the state of a user. You can read more about sessions and middleware at the Django documentation site URLs seen on screen now. Now that you can detect users and information about them, in the next section, you'll see how to start restricting access to views